The Lakers' shooting woes continued last night against the Rockets. With no LeBron, LA was just under 45% from the floor and shot a season-worst 10% from three. And meanwhile, the Blazers have remained hot, knocking off the Nuggets behind Damian Lillard's 45 points. As we know, Charles Barkley is on record predicting that if Portland makes the playoffs, they'll knock off the Lakers. And last night, Chuck said one reason he doesn't like the Lakers in the playoffs is because he doesn't believe AD has, quote, that dog in him. We're now joined by Fox Sports NBA analyst Chris Broussard. Chris, what shot would you give the Blazers of beating the Lakers?
Well, first, I think LeBron wanted to pull his mask over his eyes yesterday watching the Lakers miss all those three-pointers, 2 for 19 from three. But I'm going to be very precise here. I'm going to give Portland an 8 to 10% chance to beat the Lakers. That's it, 8 to 10%. So that's less than 1 on a scale of 1 to 10. LeBron's team, if you notice, for some reason, they made a habit out of having these late season swoons. Okay, when he was in Cleveland in 2017, they finished the season 11-15 over the last 2 months. Of course, they reached the NBA Finals. In 2016, when they won it all, they finished on a 10-7 run to end the season. So for whatever reasons, they seem to take the foot off the gas, and I think that's all this is with the Lakers. I get it. They can't shoot that well, and we can blame it on the bubble, but the fact is they're 24th in the league in three-pointers overall the whole season. I get it. They don't guard the perimeter that well. Portland shoots lights out, especially with Dame Lillard. I understand why people, Charles Barkley, thinking, okay, the Lakers could be in trouble. But Portland has one major problem when they face the Lakers. Who in the world is going to guard LeBron James? There's nobody. I mean, Carmelo? We know it's not Melo. I don't care that he's skinny Melo now. He couldn't guard LeBron as hoodie Melo. He couldn't guard LeBron as Syracuse Melo, whatever. He
Olympic Melo.
Stop LeBron. Yeah, right. Olympic Melo. None of that. Zach Collins, Gary Trent Jr., they have nobody to stop LeBron and keep him from going to the rim. And we know what happens at the rim when he meets Yusuf Nurkic there. It's a poster. All right, so LeBron will have his way. And AD, look, I've questioned his dog too. I think all of us are wondering, does he have the dog? He got enough dog to beat Portland. That's the thing. So AD and LeBron are enough to get the Lakers past Portland. You guys know I've picked the Clippers to win it all. So I think the Lakers' problems will come later in the playoffs, but they got enough to get past the Blazers.
So, Chris, you're saying LA sweeps Portland in the first round?
I'll say 5, maybe 6. Probably 6. Probably 6.
Well, that's not exactly 8% chance, but go ahead.
No, how would you go?
Turn.
You go ahead and go.
So, Chris, guess who's leading the bubble and block shots? Mr. Body Bag himself, Nurkic, right? Guess who is leading the league in block shots for the whole regular season? It's a guy who doesn't even, There's a guy named Hassan Whiteside. He didn't even start, didn't even play much last night. I don't know. Chris, my biggest disappointment last year came in the conference finals when Damian and CJ came up smaller in the fourth quarters and overtimes than they even are. And neither one of them are very tall, but they shrank and shrank and shrank in the fourth quarter and the overtimes of all 4 games as they got swept by Golden State. And they had chances coming out of the third quarter to win all 4 games. They were in all 4, and I don't want to just dwell on these stats, but they combined to shoot 26% from the field in fourth quarters and overtime and 22% from 3. CJ was a little worse than Dame, but they were both awful. And I lost some respect for both. But all of a sudden, it looks like Dame's got a new running mate. It looks like somebody named Gary Trent Jr., and I used to know his dad. He's a decent NBA player. It looks like he's becoming the new CJ because all the big shots in the bubble so far, it seems like all the daggers are thrown by him from 3. And he is leading the bubble in threes made with 22. Dame is second with 21. And the Lakers as a team have made 37 total. So it's 43 to 37. Dame and Gary Trent Jr. versus the Lakers, 43 to 37. And that kid looks legit to me. He looks fearless. You could just see in his eyes when he goes up to shoot a three, he thinks it's going in. Carmelo is skinny Melo, and I do think it helps Portland's psyche, just their mystique to think we got that guy on our side now. And I look back to Carmelo back in his Denver days when I used to talk to George Karl. He used to tell me that Carmelo can do anything he wants on a basketball court if he decides. He thought in those days that Carmelo could have led the league in assists if he'd felt like it. He felt like he could be a great, first-team all-defense defender if he felt like it. So who's to say that he couldn't guard LeBron and bother him a little bit? He's big enough and strong enough to guard and bother LeBron just a little bit. So, again, am I predicting that Portland will do this? No, but they're a very different team with Nurkic and Whiteside and Melo and Gary Trent Jr. than they were getting swept and embarrassing themselves in the fourth quarters against Golden State last year.
My thing is that Skip, the thing is, Chris, that I have with Skip is that he's unwilling to give Dame Lillard the credit that he rightfully deserves. With the exception of...
You got to show me.
Okay.
Show me.
Okay.
Just one time.
Let me explain it to you. With the exception of the Pelicans, that Pelican series, when Anthony Davis went bonkers, I think he averaged 30 and 15. Other than that, Dame has not lost a series in which he was favored, but he's won a bunch of series in which he wasn't favored. And that's how you really measure a guy. Now, should they have won a couple of games off of Golden State without Kevin Durant? Absolutely. There were times in the third quarter, they were up 13, up 15 points, and we know Golden State came back and ended up sweeping them. Now, if they shoot the ball like this, Chris, this is a 7-game series and anything can go. If you make 23 of 39 threes, if you go hand out 30 assists with less than double-digit turnovers, you winning. I mean, Dame Lillard and Gary Trent Jr. was 18 of 28 from the three-point line. Now, I don't believe they can shoot like that for 7 games. I do not. But the Lakers are going to have to play better than what they have because what you're showing is that Portland's saying, they can be had. We can get them. Now, we know Dame Lillard, he's out of the equation. He's gonna probably average 40 because even when Avery Bradley was on the roster, he went and got 48 one night. So who
is going to guard him?
40 against the Lakers in a series?
That's what he's going to have to average that, to have it close. Okay. I believe they can win 2 games. I've told Skip this from the beginning. I believe they can take 2 games off the Lakers. I don't believe they can beat the Lakers 4 times, but I believe they can get 2 because they get a Trent Jr. coming off the bench. You think you get a break. Normally when a guy like Dame goes to the bench, you're like, whoo, we can relax now. Well, Gary Trent Jr. right now is shooting the 3 better than Dame. So you get no breaks. And Dame is getting past guys and getting to and he's dishing it, and Gary Trent is wide open and banging threes. Look, all that being said, Nurkic sat out the fourth. There are a couple of starters that sat out the fourth, and the game was really close. Do I believe with Anthony Davis, Michael Porter Jr. got 27 and 12? AD's going to average probably 35 and 14, and he's going to have to.
Yeah, see, look, I think we're putting a lot of what's going on in the bubble into this discussion, and I get it. Maybe we should, but I'm really not. The bubble's been a strange place. The bubble's been crazy. Will this continue? I mean, I can't imagine that this is going to continue. Gary Trent Jr., you're right, Skippy's look great, but is he going to shoot like that in the playoffs against LeBron James? I just don't see it. I think there's going to be nerves. He's a young kid. I don't think he's going to light it up like that on the big stage. And I get it. There's no fans. It's a little different, but it's still national television. There's still some type of atmosphere. You're going to understand this is win or go home. I think that makes it different. I have all the faith in the world in Dame. I think Dame is tremendous. I had him on my second team All-NBA ballot this year. He's fantastic. I'm glad he's starting to get the shine that he really deserves. But I can't see him, out-dueling a LeBron James in this playoff series. I'll give you 6 games. Maybe it would even go 7, and you could say in 7 anything can happen. But I just don't see the Blazers being able to beat the Lakers. This is not how the Lakers are going to look.
Chris,
This
time
is
out.
not, I mean, we can forget this. This is not how they're going to look.
Hold on. You just went from giving Portland an 8% chance to Game 7. Which is it? Did I talk you into it?
No. I still, even if it goes 7, there's no way I see them winning the series. The Boston Celtics went 7 with Atlanta, remember, in 2008, and blew them out in Game 7. I don't see Portland beating the Lakers.
Okay.
No matter how many games it goes, but I'll stick at 6. Since you want to nail me down, I'll stick at 6.
I'm going to remind you, Gary Trent Jr. did not come from nowhere. He grew up around NBA locker rooms because his father was a 9-year veteran. He wasn't great in the NBA, but he bounced around to 4 different teams.
Shaq of the Mac.
He was the Shaq of the Mac. And the kid feels like I'm from the NBA. You know, like I grew up in the NBA. I can do this. He played at Duke and he averaged 15 a game and started every game that year for Duke.